outlaw, a samurai, both outnumbered, ready to exact revenge.
Hold it!
These are the quintessential anti-Western and samurai films. Clint Eastwood's Unforgiven won Best Picture in 1993 and is now a Western classic. Masaki Kobayashi's Harakiri won the Special Jury Prize at Cannes in '62 and is considered one of the greatest films ever made, currently ranked number 1 on Letterboxd. But these aren't valiant stories about noble men. In Harakiri, a desperate plea for help is met with sadistic cruelty. In Unforgiven,
I'm heading on back down to Kansas.
an attempt to walk away from violence leads to punishment and death. Both films ask, is this honor?
Well, I ain't gonna hurt no woman.
Is this justice?
I'm gonna hurt you.
Because in these worlds, absolute power corrupts absolutely. Until
You boys better move
the
away.
bill comes due.
Well, I guess they had it coming.
We all have it coming, Captain.
There's a lot to learn when we hold seemingly opposite films next to one another. This is the language of cinema. This is film to film. Let's take a look at Harakiri and Unforgiven. Edo, Japan, 1630. Hanshiro Tsugumo is a ronin, a battle-hardened warrior now living in a time of peace. A widower, a proud and principled man. When his lord's house falls, his closest friend does the honorable thing and commits harakiri, leaving behind a son, Motomo Chichiwa, who Tsugumo vows to look after. Hodgman County, Kansas, 1880. William Munny is also a widower, a struggling father, a dead-broke pig farmer. But Munny isn't proud or principled. He's a former notorious outlaw. Now he's reformed.
Claudia, she straightened me up. Cleared me of drinking whiskey and all.
Tsugumo settles into domestic life, making paper umbrellas. Mitome marries Tsugumo's daughter, Miho. They have a son, Kingo, the heart of their small family. Munny's farm is falling apart. The pigs are sick, the children are hungry, and he's barely holding himself together, haunted by who he once was. Peacetime has no need for warriors. Ronin wander the streets, broke, idle, forgotten. Mitome can't find work, and the family slowly slides into poverty and illness. A young kid rides onto Munny's farm.
Gonna kill a couple of no-good cowboys.
He brings word of a $1,000 bounty to kill 2 men who cut up a prostitute in Wyoming.
I ain't like that anymore, kid.
Miho and Kingo are slowly dying. Mitome tells Tsugumo he's going to borrow money. Munny continues to think about the bounty. It's a way out. A way to help his children. He rides to his old partner, Ned Logan.
Claudia was alive, you wouldn't be doing this.
Munny convinces him anyways, and they take off to find the kid. 2 men pushed by the same force, poverty, and the thin hope that there's a way out. Here stands the powerful house of Iya, vast, pristine, symmetrical. At the heart of Iya sits an immaculate suit of armor, a symbol of the past and a legacy built on honor. For a samurai, identity is everything. Clean robes, a top knot, a sharp blade. The house is overseen by senior counselor Saito Kageyu, tasked with preserving the reputation of the great house. Big Whiskey, Wyoming. a muddy frontier town built on vice and violence. But before we get to this, meet Little Bill Daggett.
Get the bullwhip.
Former outlaw turned sheriff who runs Big Whiskey with an iron grip. Here, no one carries guns but him and his deputies, making Little Bill judge, jury, and executioner in Big Whiskey. In Edo, a troubling pattern emerges. Let's call it the suicide bluff. A poor samurai arrives at a great house. He requests to commit ritual suicide in their courtyard, called Harakiri. This is where a samurai disembowels himself while a second stands ready to chop off his head. No house wants blood spilled in their courtyard, so they deny the Ronin's request and quietly provide a small stipend, welfare. The House of Iya finds this practice dishonorable. Welfare erodes authority. Empathy is weakness. Back to Big Whiskey. Delilah, a prostitute, laughs at a cowboy's small pecker and he slashes her face. Little Bill arrives and is uncharacteristically level-headed.
You got your own string of ponies?
He orders the men to deliver ponies to compensate the saloon owner for damaged property.
You ain't even gonna whip them?
Strawberry Alice is outraged. This isn't justice, it's indifference.
By God, we ain't horses. So
the prostitutes pull their own money and put a $1,000 bounty on the cowboys' heads. Kingo now is gravely ill. The family is stone broke. Mitome leaves saying he'll borrow money, but instead goes to the House of Iya. Another desperate Ronin attempting the suicide bluff.
They're paying $1,000 to whatever son of a bitch kills the two boys that cut up Delilah.
Little Bill learns of the prostitute's scheme and vows to stop any bounty hunter who shows his face in Big Whiskey. So when English Bob, a famous outlaw, arrives with his biographer,
W.W. Bushido.
Little Bill makes an example of him, sending a clear message.
Tell him there ain't no horse gold!
Nevertheless, Munny, Ned, and the kid locate the first cowboy. But Ned can't pull the trigger. Munny takes the shot. In Unforgiven, violence isn't heroic. It's ugly, lingering, final.
I'm heading on back down to Kansas.
Ned realizes he can't do this anymore and leaves. Munny and the kid track down the second man. The kid kills him, finishing the job.
Ned Roundtree.
Unbeknownst to them, Ned is captured
Bring him in.
and brought to Little Bill. With his wife and Kingo near death, Mitome appears at the gates of the House of Iya and requests permission to use their courtyard to commit harakiri. House leadership doesn't believe. They know he wants welfare, so they call his bluff. Like Little Bill, they mean to send a message, so they bring Mitome a ceremonial robe and tell him the courtyard is prepared. The house also discovers Mitome's blades aren't steel, they're bamboo. He's pawned his real sword to help his family survive. For a samurai, the equivalent of selling your soul. Ned, now in Little Bill's custody, is tied to the bars of a cell. Little Bill wants the name of his partners, or promises more pain.
Not gentle like before, but bad.
In the courtyard, Mitome is presented with his bamboo swords. He'll use them for the ritual. But the blade is so dull, he must throw his weight onto it to pierce his own body. Saito and his men watch dispassionately. No one stops Little Bill either. He goes on and on until Ned is dead. Matome begs his second to end the suffering, but he refuses, forcing Matome to bite through his own tongue to bleed out. The House of Iya returns Matome's dead body, explaining what happened at their house with no love lost. When Tsugumo learns how Matome was humiliated, something in him breaks. He chastises himself for clinging to his blade out of pride. Like Antonio in Bicycle Thieves, like Schindler staring at his pen, the sudden, devastating clarity of the meaningless value we place on objects while dignity and human life are slipping away. Shortly thereafter, Miho and Kingo also pass away. Now, Tsugumo is truly alone. As Munny and the kid wait for little Sue to deliver the bounty, the kid begins to unravel.
I killed the hell out of him, didn't I?
He realizes he's not a killer.
It don't seem real.
Munny, of course, is.
It's a hell of a thing, killing a man. You take away all he's got, and all he's ever gonna have.
They get their money.
In fact, we'll give Ned his share together.
Ned, he's dead.
What do you mean he's dead?
They killed him. I thought you knew that.
Who killed him?
Little Bill. He was making him answer questions and beating him up, and then Ned just died.
He takes his first drink in over a decade.
Give me your Schofield. What for, Will? Give it to me. Yeah. Sure.
Like Tsugumo, Munny is now alone, but neither man sits with grief for long. No, it's time to act.
Tsugumo Hanshiro.
Like Matome, Tsugumo arrives at the House of Iya and requests permission to commit Harakiri. An exhausted Saito encourages Tsugumo to leave, then recounts the story of Matome, who Tsugumo pretends not to know. Tsugumo insists he's prepared to die. Munny rides into Big Whiskey and virtually appears in front of the men.
Just hold it right there.
Within seconds, he's killed the unarmed saloon owner where he stands.
Well, he should have armed himself. He's gonna decorate his saloon with my friend.
Inside the courtyard, Tsugumo tells his story of Miho, Kingo, Mitomo Chichiwa, not the bamboo samurai, but a man of flesh and blood. He accuses the House of Dishonor of humiliating and killing a man who was never a threat. Then, he reveals what he's done. He confronted the house's 3 finest swordsmen, not to kill them, but to take their top knots. A deep dishonor, including Haikokuro Omodaka, their greatest warrior. Matome's second.
Killed just about everything that walks or crawled at one time or another. And I'm here to kill you, little Bill.
Misfire. Kill us, bitch.
In seconds, Munny guns down 6 men, all lawmen. W.W. Beauchamp, the writer, is noting everything.
That's a Spencer rifle, right?
Once again, Munny is a cold-blooded killer. The House of Iya erupts in outrage. Tsugumo is surrounded and attacked. Alone, he battles with dozens of samurai, killing 4 men in the process, and slices his way to the heart of the house, seizes the ancient armor, and hurls it to the ground, exposing its empty symbolism.
I'll see you in hell, William Munny.
Yeah.
True to his word, Tsugumo commits Harakiri, turning the ritual into a final act of rebellion. In the pouring rain, Munny mounts his horse and puts Big Whiskey on notice.
Better not cut up to otherwise harm no horse.
Like Tsugumo, he calls out the town's indifference to injustice and vows that if it happens again,
I'll come back and kill every one of you sons of bitches.
justice has finally arrived at the house of Iya and Big Whiskey, but not in the way anyone envisioned it.
You're not going to use the story, Mr. Scott?
No, sir. When the legend becomes fact, print the legend.
In the aftermath, in order to save face, the House of Iya forces the disgraced swordsman to commit Harakiri, and the 4 samurai just killed by Tsugumo. The house is cleaned. The entire incident is brushed over. Authority survives intact.
You killed 5 men, single-handed.
In Unforgiven, W.W. Beauchamp, the writer, moves from English Bob to Little Bill, and finally to William Munny.
Who'd you kill first?
As a witness now to the Big Whiskey massacre,
Who was next? It was Clyde, right?
he believes he's finally found the real West.
Get out of that shadow.
Which brings us back to John Ford's The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, a classic Western that shows why societies favor myth over complicated truths.
When the legend becomes fact, print the legend.
Our films reveal the human cost of that choice. History will record Tsugumo as an honorable samurai who committed ritual suicide, not as a widower crushed by poverty and loss.
There is a certain poetry to the language which I couldn't resist.
Beauchamp will likely write the story of William Munny, the righteous angel of death who delivered justice to Big Whiskey, not as a haunted outlaw who got his only friend killed.
He was one crazy son of a bitch, Will.
These films don't dismantle myth.
I'm scared of dying.
They show how myth is weaponized.
Don't tell my kids. None of the things I did.
How authority absorbs attacks, rewrites the story, and carries on.
It ain't fair.
Leaving us with one final truth. The system always survives. And someone, somewhere, always pays the price for the show to go on. If you're interested in this kind of dialogue between films and what cinema reveals when we look a little deeper, well, this is Film to Film. Check out our first episode, Men Out of Time. Like, subscribe, and leave a comment. It all helps.